Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Natural Resources Investor Symposium corporate presentations. I have the good fortune to be interviewing Simon Ridgway today. Simon and I go back, I was going to say years, but that's not true, decades, all the way back to his successes with Tombstone and Mar West, I suspect in the decade of the 90s. Simon is back with us today on volcanic gold, which has made an important and exciting new discovery. And I'm delighted both with Simon's ongoing efforts on behalf of shareholders, but also in terms of his continued support for educational products like the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. Thank you, Simon, both for your efforts on behalf of shareholders and your efforts on behalf of this symposium, and welcome.
Thank you, Rick, and thanks for the invitation to join you.
So let's start right off with Volcanic. I'm going to ask you some impertinent questions later. So this is probably the right time for you to give people an overview of why you, in effect, conducted off-balance sheet financing for Radius and Volcanic, what the value proposition is, and how you hope to continue your good fortune for shareholders here.
Yeah, well, I knew that the issues if Volcanic changed let me back up a little bit. I was in Guatemala with Radius 10, 15 years ago. We had some good success. And then the government changed and became quite anti-mining. So I held on to all the application ground and the concessions that Radius had and went to work in Mexico and other places with Radius. About a year and a half ago, the government in Guatemala changed and became pro-mining. We had a very large land position, Radius did in Guatemala, and I needed for the funds that were in Radius, we really couldn't afford to take it on just because of the hiccups that I'll talk about a bit later. But were somewhat obvious to me that it was going to be quite challenging to work this terrain. So I wanted a well-financed company. So it seemed to me a good idea to joint venture the projects to a new company, Volcanic. Radius retains a 40% interest in the main targets, and it actually retains 100% of its large land holdings, with Volcanic having an option to enter into any of those other exploration licenses that we had under application in the country. So I raised 13 million for Volcanic. We got the deal done and listed the company, and I headed down to Guatemala. I have had I've always had a love for the Holly property. We found it back in 2001, 2002, I believe, and put a couple of holes in then, but we got distracted by other prospects, and then the change in the government had us leave the project behind, but I always wanted to come back and drill it. So the Holly property was in a large concession that held another group of exciting projects called the Banderas. It's kind of a collapsed caldera system with a whole bunch of rhyolite domes and a lot of veins. So we entered first with Radius with a joint venture on those two exciting prospects, whereby Volcanic could earn into 60% by spending 7 million over a 4-year period. We got the deal done. We went straight to work on drilling at Holly, and we had some very exciting results. It proved to be what I always thought it could be, which was a very high grade, maybe small, maybe large, I don't know yet, but certainly a very high grade deposit. We've had results up to 4 meter, a lot of 4 to 5 meter intercepts of sort of half ounce to 2 or 3 ounces of gold and kilos of silver. I mean, the grades have been quite phenomenal in the drilling that we've done. But we ran into some social issues of late, whereby we've in the area where we've had historically no problem in this part of Venezuela, of Guatemala. But here we did. We drilled about 20 holes into the Holly property. Some of the locals started getting anti-mining. Usually, as often is, from the guys on the hill, the guys with money in the area that didn't want the wages of the district changing because we were employing people and paying them a little bit more, and their house on the hill wouldn't be as big if everybody else had got a bigger house as well. So that seems a bit petty, but sometimes that drives it. So we had to shut the drilling down. We actually got aggressively attacked at one point with some fire bombs on the rig, mostly motivated by the people I talked about. So, I'm down here right now trying to solve, get over those issues. We're making good progress. It's not quick. we've really got to work with the townspeople, which we've always done very well in the past. We employed this area with those three villages. There's probably about 1,100 people living in the area, and we employed, 100 to 120 daily with three shifts of 30 to 40 people as we're drilling. So we're working with those, and we're working with the villages and the people that were against it. I mean, we've had some negative input also from the usual actors, the ONGs that we both know who they are, but I won't mention their names. And so I would say in that town of about 1,100 people now, 50 of the people who worked for us before are now joining these caravans to go to the States to work illegally because they've got no work here. I mean, so this is the kind of situation that these ONGs create. They create the problem that they say they're trying to solve. They create poverty, they create unemployment, they create families living without their fathers who are up in the States working illegally or risking their lives taking those caravans. Anyway, without going on ranting about that, the project itself is very exciting. We are getting there. We'll be drilling again in I would probably say a month or two from now. It's not quick. What I'm doing at the moment is we're going to convert the concession to exploitation over the next 2 or 3 months. We're doing a resource calculation. Normally, I wouldn't do that this quick with only 20 holes into the property, but the results have been, consistently high grade. A few misses, but that's normal in any project. So I think we'll do a resource calc. It'll be done in the next week or 10 days. We'll be finished. Then we'll do a PEA. And that will give me the ability to show the people in these towns having this. It's a vein right now of about 250 meters long, about 250 meters vertical. We can easily get into it underground and mine it. And so I just want to show them what the value of that would be to their towns, how it could change what if we give them a 0.5% or 1% royalty, what that would mean to them. And I think that would help us in the future. So that's my reason for being down here at the moment. And yeah, it's a very exciting project, and we will be back drilling it again in the not too distant future. Meanwhile, we'll look for that resource calculation that's coming out. We also have we have all that other ground that Radius had in throughout this eastern belt of Guatemala, in the volcanic belt, and above it in the old. There's two or three major structures running through the country of Guatemala. The two we're working on are the Polichic is way to the north, where the plate boundary is pleasantly between the North American plate and the Caribbean plate. Further to the south of that, then we got the Yucatan Fault, which is where the Holly is located along that Yucatan Fault zone. So are several of the other projects we have that we're looking at and finding some nice anomalies. But in the Motagua Fault zone, we've got about a 25-kilometer belt where we're getting some excellent results. There is a very, very surprising amount of quartz in that belt, and we've done a lot of sampling over the last year there, and with some great hits and some misses. But now we're starting to understand the orientation of the veins that work, and it's got similarities to other orogenic belts like the Mother Lode in California. It's looking very exciting at the moment. This concession should be granted. I'm told a month from now, but I was told a month from now 3 months ago as well. So sometime in the next month or three, the concession will get through the hurdles, and we'll be able to start publishing some of the results we have. But I just did the 2-day tour of it, and it's exciting. It's very exciting. So, I don't think we have one discovery here. We have the potential for 2 or 3. That's why I've held on to this ground for so long.
Well, Simon, you said a lot, and I'm going to begin to unpack it with you question by question. The first thing is, tell the listeners something about your history in Guatemala so that people care about the fact that you're excited. Earlier in your career, you had a great success in Guatemala, and unlike other people who are working there who probably can't spell it, when you talk about Guatemalan geology or Guatemalan politics or Guatemalan sociology, you do it from the point of view of somebody who spent 2.5 decades on the ground. So perhaps you could tell us something about your history in Guatemala, your past success, and the reasons why you're confident in your own knowledge.
Yeah, well, I came to Guatemala initially first in 1998 after making a good gold discovery in Honduras. It's called the San Martin deposit. The San Martin was associated with the hot spring system. And my research, and when I first got to Central America, after our both experiences in Venezuela. I was all the time in Venezuela. I was flying over Central America, and for a prospector working in saprolite was never very exciting. So when I was all those years, I was flying over Central America, looking down at those rocks and volcanic domes. Wanted to get down there. So when I left Venezuela, I moved into Honduras, made a good discovery there of about 1 million ounces, which later on Glamis mined bought and gold and mined. But I then began to look at the region and realize that many of the prospects in the region were at least spatially associated with hot spring centers. So I, got my geos we moved into El Salvador and into Guatemala and began looking at the hot springs in all of those in those two countries as well. And shortly after entering Guatemala in 1998, we discovered the Cerro Blanco deposit, which is Lundini's mine. It is developing at the moment, the Lundin Group, in a company called Bluestone. And that's grown to about 3.2 million ounces right now. And a Tambor mine, which is in central Guatemala, and made that discovery later in 2010 when I moved back in. So I've been back and forth in and out of Guatemala for the last 20 years, 22 years actually. And I'm seeing the ebbs and flows of pro-mining and anti-mining. Guatemala did not have a mining history. When we found the Tambor, we were looking at big blocks of quartz, 20 kilometers north of the city of Guatemala that had visible gold in it. Nobody ever looked at it. It just was not a mining country. So I've had a lot of good success here historically. It's unexplored. Really, the country still is mostly unexplored. I mean, what we're finding up in the Motagua belt right now is impressive, with a lot of VG and never been looked at before. There's not many countries you can have that kind of success in that quickly.
So let's talk a bit about the value proposition. You obviously have a discovery that you're working on that seems, maybe this is forward-looking, seems like it will either be a small mine or a large mine, but it seems like it'll be a mine, given the widths and grades.
Yes.
Talk to investors a bit about what they're paying for this opportunity. What's your market capitalization? How much cash do you have? What's this assemblage being priced at in the market?
Well, yeah, it's a bit embarrassing. I mean, people often tell me I'm a good promoter, but obviously I'm not, because of the situation in right now in Volcanic. We have a market cap of under 12 million. The share price is 25 cents, and we have 7 million in cash at the present time.
So somebody's paying 5 million. Somebody's paying 5 million Canadian dollars for 25 years of work, large land concessions, and a discovery. Am I saying that correctly?
And a discovery. You are. And a discovery that's, I mean, I don't know the ton, how big this or small it's going to come in at, but it's certainly a mineable discovery already and open.
That's the sort of value proposition that we like to bring paid attendees to our conference. So tell me something about the process by which we unlock value. It seems to me that what we're really talking about is time. And let's talk about, first of all, the time that might need to elapse before you can resume your drilling activities, first of all. And then the time that it might take to deliver a preliminary economic assessment, which will be likely the first opportunity that the market at large gets to establish relative valuations for you.
Correct. The resource calculation should be done in the next couple of weeks at the longest point, and the PEA probably we'll have to file that with the 43-101 with the PEA within 45 days. So within the next 2 months, we'll be able to understand the value of what we've found so far, and how easy that's going to be to mine. It's open in most directions, and I think stepping out on it, we're certainly going to expand it, because there's no reason it shouldn't keep going. We didn't hit anything that says no, but I don't think we completely understand it geologically yet. This resource is on one vein. We have several, some of which we've missed on. Not sure why yet. And we got a major structure, the Hockatan Fault cuts through it. So we're basically right at the point where the Impala gravity comes into the Hockatan Fault, two major structures. So, but so far, so you think a lot of displacement, a lot of structural upset. But so far, the drilling on this 250 meters along strike by 200 vertical has shown very, very good consistency. So we need to do a bit more understanding, but that's the value we can show up on the Holly itself. The Banderas we haven't been back to yet. We put 44 holes in that back in 2010 and had some very good results. Again, we ran into a social issue there, which we'd never had all those years. We worked there for 2 years in 2010. But I think having 10 years of an anti-mining government, installs that into the people, and you've really got to work with them slowly and explain the benefits of that. That Banderas Basin is so poor. I don't think anything could do better than for them to have a mine discovery there and change all their lives. But, so that's something we have to work on. And I think the timing to get these concessions granted up in the Motagua zone, 2 to 4 months, and I think then we can really start working hard on that. Right now, the only sampling we can do is prospecting and surface sampling. We can't, do any trenching or drilling or any kind of mechanical work like that. But so far, from the surface sampling we've done, it's looking very, very good. But again, it's a complicated system, an incredible amount of quartz with a certain percentage of it with great gold numbers. I mean, great gold numbers into 90 grams, 120 grams, 80 grams, numbers from our samples. These are 2-meter chips. These are not grams of high grade. So it's been phenomenal results. And so as we start to unwrap that target zone, I think who knows what's going to happen. I think the share price has got a fantastic upside with that. But let's see. Let's get it granted.
It would appear, too, in the near term at least, that there's no equity dilution needed. You say you have 7 million Canadian in the treasury. How long does that last? How much work gets done with that? How much uncertainty is removed from $7 million?
Yeah, that lasts us a couple of years, even with good drilling. That will last us a couple of years, even with good drilling on both prospects. We won't need to go to the market till hopefully we get the market to realize the value of what we have here in Guatemala.
That's a really good answer, Simon. I mean, that's a really good answer. I think it probably bears reiterating that you get a very long time database with a ton of historical work done, an indicated discovery, and 2 years of exploration work ahead of you in a 5 million Canadian dollar enterprise value wrapper. Tell me
Just
something
shows how
about
bad a promoter I am.
Maybe we can help. Tell me something about who owns Radius. Tell me something about the constituency, the insider ownership, the ownership by Radius, others. Tell me who your partners and who you're reporting to.
Yeah, on the Volcanic. Sorry, we flipped back and forth, but this is a Volcanic. So Volcanic is owned 19.9% by Silvercorp. They came into the financing early on. A similar amount by myself and other insiders. Radius has a small percentage. I would probably say only around 5 because it's it doesn't need to own Volcanic because it owns 40% of the prospects that are under Volcanic. So and the rest is distributed amongst people that have invested with me previously, like yourself.
For the record, including myself. And is it fair to speculate to the extent that this existing discovery becomes economic? Is it likely, is it fair to speculate that Radius would end up being a holder in the deposit, or would they likely vend it in and become a larger holder of Volcanic?
I think that would likely vend it in to become a larger holder of Volcanic and hold the equity so we could unitize the property. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Simon, once again, thank you very much for your effort on behalf of shareholders going back a couple decades. Thank you, too, for your continued support of Rural Investment Media and the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. I look forward to seeing you in Boca Raton, and I know that the people who are listening to this, who will see you there, look forward to your continued success. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, for your continued support of me, too. Okay. See you in that sunny Florida climate.
Look forward to it.
Bye.